Hello, and welcome to Socially Holistic Podcast. Socially Holistic helps coaches and holistic entrepreneurs and women in heart-centered businesses make sense of social media so they can build their own online network and get more clients. As a heart-centered business owner, you do amazing work. Holly's mission in life is to help you help more people. Help us help more women in business with a 5-star review of this podcast. Please leave one today over at iTunes. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more heart-centered businesses will be successful. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Socially Holistic Podcast, episode 74. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with a very special episode today because I have not just one, but two guests. I'm here today with Beth Martens and Sherry Rothwell. Beth and Sherry help multi-passionate fempreneurs transcend their creative ADD, get organized and systemized so that they can deliver a luxuriously unforgettable service, one that is not only financially prosperous, but energetically sustainable too. Welcome, Beth and Sherry.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Nice
to be here.
I'm so excited to speak with you today because, as my listeners will know, and as I've mentioned to you, this is my first three-way interview, so this is going to be very exciting to speak with both of you. So, nice. I'd like to see if you could tell us a little bit about your background and your business and how it's grown to where it is today. And maybe Beth can start talking about that first.
Sure. I was born and raised in a family business that was doing marketing and communication for a really wide variety of industries and mostly in that corporate realm. Not my heart and soul, but it was a means to get me to India every year. That was what tricked me into thinking that I was going to have this career with my family's business. Mm-hmm. And by the age of 25, I was vice president of that firm. So things rapidly progressed in terms of my career. I had a great lifestyle. I had a lot of, things and perks and all that kind of stuff to show for the lifestyle. But inside, I was really suffering a lot. And then that culminated in the next 4 years with a stage 4 lymphoma diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So it showed me how desperately unhappy I was. And I knew I was actually hoping for a way out. And there I found my way out. So what ended up happening is that I took that as my wake-up call, obviously. And it took me 3 years to survive. Against the odds, I was told that that wasn't necessarily going to be the case at all. And so what I did after that was, definitely not go back into the corporate world. At that time, I actually really rejected business and money as a path. Mm-hmm. It was, I saw it as something that had made me sick. So that was a very, not accurate perception of where I was at. And I did a lot of work after that to realize that it wasn't business that made me sick. It was being out of alignment with who I truly am in business. So it really had nothing to do with money and business. It was just not being myself, my authentic self. And so I pursued the spiritual arts for the next 10 years, of course, as an entrepreneur, because there was no way for me to actually get a job. That's just not in my blood. I'm sure you can't either, Holly.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And I was sort of tricking myself thinking I wasn't in a business. And it was really funny because every time I got a compliment about my business, it was not that I was such a great spiritual guide or such a great singer or, of course that kind of came down the line too, but I often got this message that I was such a great marketer. Mm. And it was like, no, you're seeing the wrong part of me. And then I was fortunate enough, I always have to talk a little bit about archetypes because archetypes is how I survived cancer in the first place, understanding the rebel part of me, that we actually call it rebel passionate. So the one that is out there fighting through truth, through art, through beauty, maybe not in that really typical way. And it was awakening to that part of myself that really saved my life. I was told I was going to die. I had done, 100 million things. I spent more than 30 grand on various treatments. I went through chemotherapy twice, just horrendous amount of stuff. When I discovered that inner rebel was in an unconscious and very disowned place and began to awaken it, then all of a sudden I turned the corner and I went from being a dying person to being a living person. So it was a really, really miraculous transformation. And then after being in business since surviving for about a bit more than a decade, I discovered a program called the Sacred Money Archetypes, which I know you're familiar with, Holly. But if for your listeners who haven't maybe come across that work yet, it's a means for understanding one's authentic financial life purpose. So similar the way you can use archetypes for general life purpose, this is really specific to how do we attract abundance. And to me, it's the path to the life's work, because if your life's work is financially abundant, then you can do it. And if it's not, then you're going to be crippled in some way and lose energy to the process. So that was a second awakening for me, where I realized a whole bunch of stuff about my history, about my great-grandmother was killed in Russia for being wealthy. And I realized how much I had that in my bones. And it was the archetype work that allowed me to really start working through that and making me realize that here I had all this business experience and, all these tools that I wasn't able to celebrate or never mind help other people with. And it was this big awakening that it really was part of my life's mission to help women become powerful about their money, about their finances, and about their mission that money and the finance would propel forward. And everything just fell into place in such a beautiful way. And that's when Sherry and I had begun to work together, and we'll tell you that story after. But that's basically the gist of it now, about my background anyway.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I think it's such a gift to have grown up in a family that has such a strong entrepreneurial background, and growing up working in a family business that gives you such great perspective on having that option to start your own business rather than, I think a lot of people who have grown up with parents who have, traditional jobs really struggle to shift their mindset to understand what it's like to go into business for themselves.
You're absolutely right. To have those models is an invaluable thing. My mindset was already there. So yes, I agree.
Excellent. So Sherry, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into business, and how's your business grown to where it is today?
Well, my story is a little bit different than Beth's, almost the opposite in the sense of how I got started in business. I started in the natural health field. I started with my own retail store. It was an alternative baby and mom store for women who were following like attachment parenting, natural parenting. And then I became a doula, and also had a business as a holistic nutritionist. So over a period of about 10 years, I made that evolution through all these different alternative businesses in fields where people often didn't even know what it was, didn't know what a doula was, didn't know what a holistic nutritionist was. And in that process, I discovered that I really needed to understand how to run a business if I was ever going to make more than, basically just an allowance or have it as be an expensive hobby. So I really put myself through as much learning as I possibly could until somewhere along the way, I discovered that I had this passion for business that I didn't know was there until I got to the place where I actually needed to really get serious about my business. And through that time, I used the same types of systems that Beth and I use today for myself to make my nutrition business thrive. And I discovered that somewhere that my interest started going more towards wanting to learn more and more about business than studying nutrition. So I started to notice this feeling of like, oh, I want to help other holistic practitioners with business. And I want to, distill all this stuff down and make it simple and bring it to be more into a spiritual context for people. Because a lot of times natural healers, just artsy people in general, the context that we have business in typically in this world, they just don't relate to it. And to me, it's actually not that complex. It's really intellectually simple to learn, marketing strategies. It's just sort of getting your head around it and looking at things in a different way. You know how it is. Like a lot of times when people are practitioners, they focus on their process rather than really getting clear on how what they do really serves people so that they can speak to what it is and what the results are and things like that. So I basically just gave myself permission throughout, this entire, it's been about 13 years since I started in business to really just follow, what was next for me. So, even though it didn't exactly make sense to me to move into business coaching at the time, I just gave myself permission to do it. And it was probably the easiest shift I've had in business in terms of me just being like totally behind it and everything just coming together for me.
Excellent. It's funny how when you start focusing on the things that you're meant to do, everything kind of flows into place, doesn't it?
Exactly. And I could have never known, like I never even remotely thought to myself, I would want to someday be a business coach or help people with business. It was just that natural evolution. And I feel like I went through all those different, like that I had to really believe that I was going to be a doula forever and become a midwife. And I had to truly believe that I was going to be a nutritionist for the rest of my life, to be passionate enough about it to really get serious about learning how to make it a viable business. And so I don't think that I could ever bring to business coaching what I bring without having had all that experience, having been that person who was upset about the fact that I had to learn to sell, being upset about having to learn to market, right? Because
we all go through that phase.
Yeah, we just get upset because we're like, that's not what I signed up for. I want to help people. So I can totally relate to people when they come from the place of being afraid of sales and marketing, but also have a completely different perspective that I think makes sales and marketing feel really easy for people once they turn it into a new context.
Excellent. And how was it that the two of you decided to work together?
Well, Beth and I we came together out of a passion just for, like, at the time we were both running our own businesses. Beth was running her yoga business, and I was doing my holistic nutrition business, and we both had children around the same age. So we would get together and we would, sit in the kitchen together. One of us would make dinner while the other one was working on her computer, and our kids would be playing together. And we had all these work/play dates, and just really supported each other to be successful in our businesses, and, started to learn as much as we could about how to run a business. And so we would travel to different events and we were learning together. And then, this background that Beth has in business started to become apparent to be really, front and central of the way that her direction was moving as well in her business. And we actually ended up at a hotel in Tucson, and it was this cute little, had this like Mexican feel to it. And we were sitting in a breakfast buffet overlooking a garden that Dr. Andrew Weil had designed for this restaurant. And we were sitting there just really
just going to say it was the best buffet ever.
Oh, yes, it was. Delicious, like chocolate for breakfast and all that good stuff. And we just really started thinking about like what's been missing from our experience in building our business. So even though we've, taken all these different trainings and studied, there's just been missing certain elements that we feel are really, really important. The kind of, community, sisterhood, the luxury, the pleasure, the travel, and just really looking at how we could create for someone else the perfect business program that we always wanted, and then we really got into like the feel of like what would be the bigger impact of doing that, and how would that impact women? And, we just got really passionate and excited about the fact that, if we could help women to create their businesses in a different way than the way society right now looks at business, where, women get burnt out and they're, feel like they have to keep their work separate from their family life, and just feel like when they're doing well in their business, that maybe it's taking time away from their family, or they can't actually be successful in their business because it means they have to take time away. But how could you actually design a business that incorporates everything into the business so that your personal life, your family life, your pleasure, your luxury, the things that you do for fun are all actually a part of your business, so that you don't have to keep everything separate, and actually serves you better as the person who's providing the service, serves your family better, and actually serves your client in a better way than you've ever served them before. So that's basically what we did, and we've modeled that by creating a business that's a perfect fit for us, where we can, give all of our gifts, talents, and passions through the work, but also our programs are set up so that we get to have our fun through the work as well, through the travel and just the close connection and the sisterhood and everything that we bring to the work.
Sounds excellent.
If I could just add to that a little bit around, it's so common these days for women, and you hear that way more from women than men, that they're looking for that balance between work and life, right? The profession always being drawn in two directions, like Sherry was saying. And so just planting that seed, and what we've created for ourselves is that, rather than trying to balance, as if balance means that actually those two things are pitted against each other. Well, what if rather than a work-life balance, you just had a life?
Yeah.
Like, what a comfort that has been to me, because it was a huge struggle. Single mom of a very young baby, work that I loved almost as much. It's always been my baby, my businesses, and then so the tension and the inner conflict is so resolved by just saying, no, this is all my life. It's all included. Like also, like Sherry said, it's not just the aspects, the outer aspects of your life that are included, but it's all the inner aspects as well. And, so we work for multi-passionates. These are women who are not just having one skill and one trade and one interest. They have just received, this world has got an abundance of riches to offer right now in terms of education and training and personal development and spiritual work, all that kind of thing. So I personally was so fragmented in my work because I was doing classes, I was doing workshops, I was performing live music, I was recording. I was literally feeling every day was going off in every direction for me, and the energy dissipated in a very strong way. So with Sherry's help, I was able to pull it together into no more. One of the big problems that we solve for women is having a multiple business personality disorder. Right. Then I was totally there. And every day you wake up and like, who am I? And then every time you're talking to someone, you don't know who you are. Right.
Which business am I talking about today?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just been such a gift for me to experience this really integrated life where it comes to, whether it's the life with my partner now, or my son, or my business, the personal relationship that Sherry and I have very much, has been so strong and so supportive that sometimes, I'll just be dramatic and say that Sherry really saved my life, because I was the single mom and didn't have, I could come up with social dates and play dates and all that kind of stuff, but not the sisterhood thing, right? Where somebody gets you, and there's just such a feeling of safety in the process, because our values just about, say, food. When we prepared a meal for our respective children, I never had a doubt that Sherry was looking after my kid. And vice versa. And, we could invite each other for meals and always enjoy it, because we have the same value for pleasure as well as the health aspect, right? So by finding your exact tribe, even if it was a tribe of one for quite a while there, Sherry, I had attracted a lot of people in my zone without much skill. So they weren't always in alignment with me, and there was all kinds of shenanigans going on. So the relationship with Sherry to me was the realizing that I could have all my relationships like that.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. It's been a beautiful thing.
Well, I loved what you said about how instead of trying to balance, that work-life balance, which of course it's like juggling, it's very stressful. Why not just create a life with the lifestyle that you want that includes your business and your family and everything? I think that's such a healthy perspective. Now, one of the things I want to ask the two of you about is part of the focus of your programs and the things that you've put together involves how to blend your masculine drive and focus and energy with your feminine powers of vision and attraction and just kind of that other softer, flowy side. So could you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think this is something that a lot of women struggle with. We've got the masculine model as what we're so used to seeing, and we just don't know how to bring in that feminine side. So what would you say are your top tips on how to do that?
Well, I think first of all, it comes down to just sort of creating a context for this, because we have what most people think of as being business is the masculine way, and it's either in the positive masculine or the negative masculine, or the shadow masculine. So when you think of the shadow masculine, it's all of the stuff that we typically associate with more like a corporate type of business. So it's like the bottom line is the most important thing. It doesn't matter who you have to trample on to, be successful in business. The bigger guns wins. Pressure sales, cold calls. Things like success in the business can mean also trampling on the environment or, not being truthful in marketing. Every commercial that you see on TV that comes from, a corporation is usually has to some degree, it's misleading marketing. And unfortunately, what we've done is we've actually looked at sales and marketing as being evil and bad because we associate it with that, which is really unfortunate, because a lot of times when people start into business, they're really excited about this change and this difference they're going to make in the world. And as soon as they go to sell or market, suddenly they start feeling like they're that other person that they, have judged in the past who has done sales and marketing. So then there's the positive masculine, right? So I think what we're now seeing in the positive masculine is a lot of what we see in terms of the lifestyle internet marketing type of businesses that you see out there. So it's really about, attracting a tribe of people and, really serving them and, doing the education-based marketing, all that kind of stuff. We have a more, comfortable relationship to that for the most part, other than the internet marketing also has the get rich quick schemes as well, which would go into the shadow masculine. So what we've looked at is how can we incorporate the positive masculine into our work so that we can actually ground the work that we're doing. Because a woman doesn't really actually have that freedom to receive and go into the state of relaxation that she needs to be in to be attractive and to receive unless she has a strong foundation. It's just I just go back to childbirth because it's the exact same thing. When a woman is like in labor, and she's in an altered state of consciousness, and in order to like birth this baby into the world, she really has to feel like she can completely let go. And in order to do that, she needs somebody, whether it's a midwife or the doula or her partner, who are holding this masculine container for her where she feels like she can like completely let loose and know that she's being supported. So a lot of times women, when they go into more of a shadow place, when they start their business, they don't have any system for their business. They don't have business systems. They don't have marketing or sales systems, and everything is willy-nilly. And then they actually feel like they can't actually go into receive and attract mode either, because there's just too much chaos and they're trying to handle everything on a moment-to-moment basis. And so what Beth and I have done is really broken down all the different areas in a woman's business that she requires support, and put that structure in place for ourselves and for our clients. But really just also focusing on the mindset piece, because you have to understand what you're working with before you can shift it. So the context that we bring it is not just that the masculine is not as good as the feminine, but what can we, pull as the grounding force of our business and set up and use that positive masculine. But then infuse all the other stuff that business doesn't usually involve in this culture, that's really more feminine, so that you can really feel like you're connected to your business, that you have a relationship to your business, that you're focused on the pleasure and the experience of serving. Because a woman can't serve the way she imagines she's going to in her business if she's burnt out and overwhelmed by business and marketing and the day-to-day of it, right? Because it's not the natural thing that most women want to spend their time doing.
All the admin
serve
stuff,
people.
the emails, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a number of features we could go on quite at length, and luckily Sherry and I have done a whole workshop on this called the Forbidden Secrets. The forbidden one being that feminine aspect that we often don't give ourselves permission to have, and but some of the highlights that stick out for me are around, one thing that a phrase just came to mind, actually, so we're making it up sometimes as we go along, is the whole masculine deadline world. If there was anything killer for me in my, the deadlines, oh my gosh. I remember in my corporate days, this was like the pinnacle. I worked for 48 hours in a row to meet a deadline.
Oh.
It was total madness, right? That's who would have done that? I don't know why I thought I needed to do that, even despite, you get paid so much to get results, and it's just at all cost in that masculine shadow world. It's all cost. And then so to me, it's a kind of deadlines versus the feminine model would be more about cycles. Right, because we're working in cycles. We can't get away from it. The earth is in cycles. The moon is in cycles. Especially as women, we're very much, we're so in sync with the cycles, even if we don't consciously know that we are. Our bodies just, of course, men's bodies are also in sync with the cycles, but we get this monthly reminder of that, and it's kind of hard to look past it. And so what we've learned to do is work within the moon cycles themselves, and to see, okay, well, at what point of the moon cycle is the particular kind of work that needs to be done going to be the most effective. So there is a time for all that masculine push and, get past and break through, more around the full moon and the rising moon, or the waxing moon, pardon me, not the waning moon. And then there's times to completely go the opposite, turn within and do nothing but vision, and don't try to accomplish anything on that outside level, but just allow everything to go into alignment in our own inner beings, more in alignment with the new moon. And then there's the times when we need to break ground. When you think of a seed trying to go from being a seed to a sprout and pushing up through the earth to meet the sunlight, there's that time in the first quarter moon to be having that kind of energy, which you that's the hard energy. Luckily, that only comes once a month. But, what a different world where Sherry and I know that every moon cycle is like a rebirth for our business. And it's not about a finish line.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no finishing when it comes to cycles. It's just a constant, it's a circle. And then we make sure that the circle is spiraling upward. And that we're very in tune with the feelings that we have about our business, not just because we are hedonistic and we love pleasure, which we do, but it's because we understand that it's the feelings that are going to attract our success, or be the determining factor of our success. If we're grumpy every day in our business, then there's that you're attracting a lot of grumpy energy in the process.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's terrible. Right. So thank you very much. Now, you've mentioned your Forbidden Secrets videos. Could you tell us a little bit more about those?
Well, they're actually not videos. They're audios.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless, are you talking about the Creative ADD videos?
Actually, I was talking about the Forbidden Secrets, but why don't you tell me about both?
Okay. Well, basically, the Forbidden Secrets training is a 2-part audio series where we're really just helping women to see their business in a whole new way and look at a different type of business model that will allow them to go from, trading their time for dollars to creating packages, and to really be able to structure their business so that they have a high-end product as well as mid-level, entry-level products, so that they can serve people at all different income levels, not necessarily just high end. But what Beth and I help our clients to do is to actually start, even if you're just, out of the starting gate with your business, with a higher end package with your clients, because it's the best way, the fastest way to actually create cash flow in your business by working with the people who are really committed. They want to invest their time, their energy, and their money in the transformation that they want. And then that way you instantly have a viable business. Then that gives you the freedom to be able to serve people in the other levels, like in the group programs and say e-courses and things like that. And that's really a lot different than, what you get especially in the internet marketing type of model, where you go online and All these different training courses are, build your e-course and, retire early, that kind of thing. What people don't recognize is that you have to have quite a large following to make a go of an e-course or a group training program. So it's not if you don't have to worry about money and you just, want to teach people and it doesn't matter how long it takes before your business is successful, that's fine. You can go down that route. It'll take, a few years. But if you want to, make a switch from the job you're in now to your service-based business, the only way to do that and actually make good money from the start is to work one-on-one with people and give them a better service than you would ever imagine that you would before by offering a package. So what you do is you look at what you offer and the transformation that you provide for somebody and find out, like, what are all the pieces that I would need to put in this package to help them overcome all their obstacles and provide more value than I ever could have if I was just doing a one-off session with them and, showing up and just, using my intuition. And it's not that just using your intuition in every session with your client is not still part of the process of working with clients. But when you're charging for a higher end service, and if you're really wanting to get your clients a certain result, they're going to feel a lot more confident that you have what they need if you have a system that they can see where you've really looked at the process and have a way of you already know what their obstacles are, and you've already planned for how those obstacles are going to be solved in that program. And then also adding the luxury component to it and the connection that as women, we want much deeper connection with one another. And I totally believe that people are looking for experiences right now. Yes. We have this age of the internet where suddenly we think that we're getting connection by just, checking our Facebook or reading somebody's post. And it's like this empty nothingness, right? And so we're looking to go back to that like more intimate experience with people. And as women, that's, how we make the biggest difference in each other's lives, by being intimate with each other and close. And so, and of course in the male model, it's all about professional distance, right? Like, don't get too connected to your clients because, you don't want to blur the boundaries there. We're saying go the opposite. Yeah. Go all in with your clients, spend and throw in a VIP day or what we call a retreat day into your package with somebody, and go like hard for 5 or 6 hours and get some deep work done with them, and just really throw out any idea of how business should be and make it the way you want it to be. It's your business. You can create any kind of package you want. But the most important part is that you actually create something that is investment level, that's sustainable for you as a practitioner. Because if you don't create a sustainable business on an energetic and financial level, then you won't have a business, and all those people don't get served that you imagined that you were going to help, and you don't get the vision that you had for your life. So it's a really key distinction between going it the other way, which is what a lot of people do, is try to start with the group programs or lower end services or one-off sessions. Exactly.
I think it's just kind of instinct for most people to go for, this is my service, I offer it for an hour, and, that's what I have to offer. I think that's what so many people, especially women in service-based businesses like holistic practitioners or coaches, start out with that, and they really don't think about how they can package their services, the same services together, into something better. And I think a lot of it also comes from lack of confidence. I'm just starting out. How will people give me all this money? Why would they hand it over to me? Who am I? And so there's a lot of inner stuff going on that kind of needs to be shifted as well, to accept the fact that, yes, people will pay for this.
Yeah, exactly. And it really helps to have an actual system for yourself in your business to set up your business so that you actually do feel confident about charging the amount that you're going to charge. And that's different for everyone. We don't actually give exact numbers to people because it has to be something that on even an unconscious level that they can resonate with, because if they don't, on some level, they don't think that they can charge that money, then when they speak about it, then it comes out weird. And of course, as humans, we're energetically feeling each other. And then the client feels from them that it's not that something's not right? Because they're going in their head, they're feeling funny about the number. And then they don't make the sale, right? So it's about, picking an amount that that stretches you a bit, right? That you're kind of nervous about, but not so nervous that it's completely unbelievable to you. And it's different for everyone depending, where they get started.
Yeah, and where they get started and where they get stuck.
And where they get stuck, exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. So you've got the Forbidden Secrets 2-part audio training, and then what was the other thing that you mentioned as well?
So we actually have a video series that we just created called, it's basically called Got Creative ADD.
Okay.
And it's all about how to incorporate all your gifts, talents, and passions into your work so that you don't have to look at compartmentalizing yourself, as well as not feeling like you have to give up any of your passions. So this really helps with building the packages, right? Because you can add so many unique components to it when you have a multi-passionate business, that suddenly, you're not worrying about what other people are charging because nobody's doing it the way you are. You can charge whatever you want for it because suddenly you have this unique business that's never been done before.
I love that. I love the concept of that, because I think that so many women that I meet in business as you said, multi-passionate, and they've got all these really juicy, unique sides to them that they don't understand how they can pull that all together into something really unique, or they think they have to compartmentalize them and just do that, that or the other.
Right.
Yeah, I love that concept and that perspective. Thank you. Now, if women sign up for your Forbidden Secrets audio and for your video series, and they decide they'd like to work with the two of you a little bit more, how would they move on from that?
Do you want to take that, Beth? I feel like I've been yapping a lot.
I would love to answer that question about how they can get that free gift, and just to add to something that Sherry was talking about around in a more masculine model, say a more masculine business coach, because people could get the information about what we're doing. There, we have mentors. Knowledge has been passed down to us. The knowledge is out there these days. You can get anything. You can get information. So that is a big part of what we offer. But the other side of it, when you talked about the lack of confidence that women have, and so it's partly about just building that emotional muscle, but it's also a huge part of it is that if we take care of each other in the process, like how many times when I was working with Sherry and her and I would be encouraging each other, if I didn't have that handhold, that encouragement, that's somebody loving me in the process, somebody that cared on the other side when I had a victory, and that were equally present to me when I had a fall, or who would take the time to help me literally release emotions, release fear, release that lack of confidence to get past this stuff, then, I would have had actually no chance of making use of the information. So, having a business that is something where, again, built in the model that you can actually be caring for yourself in the process, and that your business cares for you because of that. So it's a big part of the way that Sherry and I work too. We have really tried and true systems, and extremely fast systems, which is pulling in some of that positive masculine, the speed part, where what we call ourselves momentum mavens some days, and then so that's built in to the process. That if we see people getting stuck, we don't let them just go off into the distance, knowing they're not going to be successful in implementing the more systems strategies. So it just I just wanted to point out that love aspect, because that's why we call this business Fempreneur Love.
I love that. It sounds very supportive.
Exactly. And it appeals to that part of us that wants to have a pleasurable experience. And giving dignity to that and raising that to an elevated place, rather than, pleasure was something that is looked at possibly as immoral. Like, how would a woman, if her purpose was to go out and be pleasured by the world, and be pleasured by her business, and be pleasured by her food and everything, her relationships, then, we just want to make that okay. That there's people who get you if you feel like that. So anyway,
and
I just speak my piece.
Yeah, and it's actually how women are prosperous, right? Because you can only go so long pushing and using your will to be successful in business. And it's that, the force of a woman is to be attractive. And, it's through relationships that we are successful.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that comes through attraction.
Definitely.
Exactly. Yeah. So in terms of accessing the Forbidden Secrets and the Creative ADD video series, that is the main problems that we solve for our clients, by the way, is suffering with Creative ADD, when you feel like you have to start eliminating parts of yourself in order to go into business. And just, to really share that that's absolutely not true. And so, Holly, you're going to be providing some notes where
Yes.
our clients can find some links to these exact two offerings that we have.
Yes, I will. They'll be in the show notes.
Okay, so that's probably the simplest way to share this then.
Yeah. Now, if someone wants to move on and work with you on your big program, how would they do that? Would they just, why don't you tell us a little bit about your program?
Sure. We created a year-long opportunity for women to get into a tried and true system of either a build from scratch, designing their life out of all of their skills, passions, talents, and trainings, or to take an existing business that they're not totally in love with and to run it through a system where they can, for example, get in touch very first with their exact tribe, the way I was describing how Sherry and I found each other, and that became a model for moving on, and also to create their precise systems so they become the author of their knowledge rather than just always feeling like they have to defer to somebody else's qualifications. They are self-qualifying, creating their own process that women, or not just women, but their clients can come into. And so we take you through a number of steps over the course of a year in the context of community, in the context of the retreats that Sherry was mentioning, where you can really truly mix your business and pleasure, and then have that constant source of accountability with Sherry and I as two coaches in one program. We think it's very, very generous, actually. Because Sherry and I have different strengths to offer. Sherry really is the systems and the strategist person, if you haven't noticed already. And I'm the connector, the one that's really interested in building the relationships and getting into the heart of heart in that authentic voice, doing the archetype work. We have moon circles, monthly moon circles, to really get in tune with what it means to work with the natural energies as opposed to work against them. Do you want to say some more about it, Sherry?
Sure. Well, we've really created it so that it helps you on all the levels that are really important as a human being. So it's the systems part of it that Beth started to share some of the way that we help women to set up their system. So basically what happens is monthly you get a training call. So the training call comes with the learning to the next piece that you want to put into place in your business, and then all of the done for you templates. So what that means is that we're not just telling you what to do, but we're actually showing you how to do it and giving you templates to make it quick for you. Because that's one of the things that women struggle with so much, is that they feel they just don't have the time to do all this from scratch. So the templates help like amazingly on that level. We've also have the mindset piece of it. So one of the things that we include is the Q&A calls. So it's one thing to, learn something, but then the next thing is that you want to have your questions answered in the context of yourself and your own business. Because a lot of times when you do a training and you don't actually get to speak with somebody about it or reflect it back to somebody or reflect it back to your peers, it's like you're alone somewhere and you're not getting any feedback. So you don't get that confidence through the work of knowing that other people get it and they're valuing what you have to bring. So we include that community and connection aspect in terms of the forum and the Q&A calls as well, so people can get personalized attention in a group. And then, like Beth said, we have the new moon circles. It's all about looking at revisioning your business every 4 weeks along with the moon cycle, so that you actually remember to do that. Because a lot of times women hear that and they're really excited about it, but then it's easy to just forget about it. So we actually have it structured into our program. So we're reminding you that we're there and it's time to revision. And so even before the new moon, we have the waning moon, and that's a time of emotional release. It's a time of releasing everything that doesn't serve. So in that period of the month, we actually have releasing calls. And what that means is Beth and I are helping people through the emotional blocks. Like Beth said earlier, if you can't break through those things, those excuses, those fears that have been holding you back forever, it doesn't matter if you have the best business training and marketing program in your hands, you'll never be able to implement it in a way that actually gives you the return on your investment because of the fear standing in the way or the resistance standing in the way. So we actually have that built into the program, and Beth and I use a form of energy work to help people to move the emotions that are actually stuck in their body, because it's actually stuff that's a lot of times it's unconscious. And so we have, we're very much into coaching, but we also recognize that a lot of times people understand what their problem is. They have no trouble getting the insight about that. But then it doesn't, even if they get the insight about what's keeping them stuck, it doesn't change just because they have the insight, right? So
Exactly.
We go to a deeper level with them and actually move it through the energy body. And that shifts it without having to use willpower, which is really great. So, and then of course, we also teach coaching in the program. So a lot of times when people are in the service model, they get, they don't feel quite confident about their ability to coach or to have their coaching practice set up in a professional way that allows them to feel confident that in themselves and in their ability to get people results. So we also have a module that's focused on coaching training, so that you have everything that you need to know beside you about how to get somebody unstuck when they're getting stuck in their work with you. And that's a really big piece I find that women appreciate. And we also have a branding with Archetype system. So we help women to really pop their brand and find the right language to communicate with their clientele, and just be able to, what it really does is it helps you to distill down what your brand is. And it just makes it so much easier. And it's actually really fun to do the branding with Archetypes process. We've also included different levels of the program. So everything that we've talked about is included for every level of the program, including the entry-level program, which people can actually join just by going to our webpage at fempreneur.ca. And of course, I'll let you give them the link. And they can just join our program at that level. But we also have some more hands-on, one-on-one levels where people can get private coaching with us. And that we require a conversation with people just to make sure that it's the perfect fit for them and the perfect fit for us. And then there's different options there. So when you're in some of the higher levels of the program, you're getting just more private one-on-one attention, and there's an extra branding retreat, photo shoots and all that kind of fun stuff. And then extra travel in terms of another luxuriate and learn retreat. But even the entry-level program includes one event where we get to have a workation. So you get to work on your business with us, and you get to vacation.
Ooh, sounds like fun.
Yeah. I think as women, that's, so important to, build in, because that's the thing. We're building luxury and we're building leisure into the process of building a woman's business. So she doesn't have to think about trying to compartmentalize her life and get it somewhere else. And it just really solves the problem of the mantra that a lot of women have is there's not enough time. I don't have the time, right? So we've cut down on a lot of the time that it would take to build your business from scratch, or to shift it from, being, if it's burdening you right now. Like a lot of times people go into their business and they love it in the beginning, and then once they get bogged down by realizing how they have to get these business systems in place, or they never do, and so they're constantly like everything's just coming at them, then they start to fall out of love with their business. And so this is designed to help you fall back in love with your business.
Sounds excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much to both of you for joining us today. Such a pleasure to have both of you on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. And as I said, I will share all of the links in the show notes, and listeners can check that out on the website. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Holly.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit sociallyholistic.com/SHP74 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Socially Holistic Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. Please help us help more women in business by giving us a 5-star review of this podcast. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more successful businesses there will be. So please leave a 5-star review today over at iTunes. Thank you.